Hey everyone, welcome to ArtCo Afternoon Arts. Thank you for joining me. My name's Amber Crimmings. I'm the art director slash cat herder. Normally we have Doobs with me, but you know, I'm kind of out of town right now, getting away from city life, etc. So I don't have the kitty cat with me, but we're gonna still continue these classes. I've got a great watercolor and pencil art lesson that we're gonna do. We're gonna be focusing on Paul Klee. He's a great artist who developed a lot of signature styles and techniques, and this is one of them. We're playing with words and creating word art. I love words. I'm a logophile, and so it's a nice way to kind of blend art with our written word, which is art, or spoken word is art as well. And so we're going to use a couple different materials. I've got some watercolors here. I'm also going to be using a pencil to draw things out, and I'm also going to be using a ruler. This ruler is going to help me kind of lay and graph things out before I get any of my words written down. So I'm going to move some of my other materials out of the way. And we are going to start kind of getting a grid in. And so I'm going to make this super easy. I'm working with a really big, I'm using my big journal. Remember, this is 140-pound watercolor paper. That way I can do mixed media on it. See, we kind of did a variety of some of our, this was our Throwback Thursday time. Look at these guys. They're super cute. And so kind of played around with a bunch of our varieties of techniques in here. I see Bill's online. Hey Bill, hey Linda, happy you guys are hanging out. All right, you got a YouTube notification. That's great. Make sure you guys, if you're subscribing, click on notifications. That way it'll let you know when we pop on and do our live streams. That way you make sure you don't miss any of these classes live, and then we can interact and make some stuff together too. And so I'm using this 140-pound journal. It was under 20 bucks. It was fairly inexpensive. You don't have to use a journal for these. You can buy watercolor paper single. You can make these finished projects. Remember, I kind of teach you a little bit of the simple side and then kind of show you how to echelon it up a little bit. But this is, of course, always, these are meant to be techniques that you work in order to create your own original pieces, rather than us always working to create the exact same final thing. But here we're going to kind of work in the same general pattern, and then you're going to kind of add in what words you want in here. So while we're working on our grid technique here, I want to make sure that you are remembering that you want to think about these words that you want to write down. Is this going to be something that's weighing heavy on your mind? Is this something that, here, I'm going to create a line here. You know what, since I'm just going to do this, I'm going to make this good enough for government work, is kind of what we say sometimes. So I've got a flat edge here, and then I've got a flat edge here. So I'm going to kind of semi-create this as a T. So I'm just going to kind of line up my edge and make sure it is parallel to the edge of my paper. And then I'm just going to line this out, and that's going to create a nice designation line. That'll make me kind of happy. And then I'm going to go from there. So I'm just going to keep my guy straight. I'm going to set out my ruler so it's nice and even with my line. And then I'm going to get this guy drawn out. And so I'm going to do this for each one. I need to make sure that I'm lining this guy the right way. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do him this way. That way I can see that edge better. That makes me happier. So then I know for sure with that 90-degree angle, I know for sure with that 90-degree angle, then I'm going to have a nice little line there. So you see, with this technique, I'm going to have a lot of lines going across. It's okay if I've got a couple mistakes. These are going to get cleaned up anyway. This is, again, a technique that we can echelon up, you know. We can add in geometric designs on top of these. A lot of play with color theory, adding in our elements and principles of art. Remember, when we think about how we want to change up things that we're inspired by. And so if we take somebody like Paul Klee and this word art that we're going to be working on, you know, he creates this really great, perfect kind of like grid with different colors, and then we add in the letters, and those create different intersections that we're going to add in contrast. So you can play with this in a lot of different ways. This works great for backgrounds. This works great for main pieces. Center focal points. Works great for projects for the home. You know, this is one of those projects that, you know, it's not that everybody knows how to write letters. Everybody can grasp how to use a ruler. Like, you can measure these out and make these squares much bigger so you don't have to write so much. So you can change how this looks. You know, imagine how it would look different if the squares were much smaller. So again, mod this for what your needs are and what your personality is really my point. That's always the aim with these classes, you guys, is to make sure that you're exploring yourself. I give you some techniques. I'm kind of like the guidepost, the mentor, and then you work through those techniques and do them in a way that kind of showcases you. You write about the things that mean something to you. You paint the colors that kind of represent how you feel. You know, if you're feeling lovey, then reds and pinks, maybe. You know, if you're feeling lovey, maybe that means blues and purples to you. Or if you're feeling frantic, then what do those colors look like? And so those are all things that we can lay out and put on the paper. There's no right or wrong. And just because we're making art doesn't mean it always has to be happy either. So don't feel that pressure. And you can really just represent yourself in any way that you want. So right now I've got a really great blank canvas. And so I'm going to use this in order to start working on creating some nice words and verbiage in here. So now I'm going to want to think about what I want to write in here. So I'm going to think about Paul Klee. Now, Paul Klee was born in Switzerland in 1879, and he actually started out as a music student. So he was very, very interested in music and went to school for that before he went to school for art. And it's really interesting to me how many artists are intertwined with musicians. You know, you even have another German artist, Kandinsky, who was a synesthesiac who had kind of wires crossed so he could see bursts of color at the same time that he heard music, because that's how his brain interpreted it. Synesthesia is kind of the crossing where you describe somebody using another sensation. For instance, a sweet person doesn't necessarily mean that you went around licking them, but it represents the taste of sweetness, represents the personality of that person. So thinking about Paul Klee, thinking about this idea of music switching over into art, and then also playing around with that combination of colors. And so I think I'm going to use this combination of color and music. Maybe I'll use this as an idea in order to write out an idea for a quote. So let's see. I'm just going to find a quick little quote online because I think that would be kind of fun. And so here's one. I found one that said, and I'm going to start in the center here. I don't have a huge one, but I'm going to create some extra sections in here. And so I'm just going to go in and use these boundary lines. And I'm going to create my letters. This is a simple project right now. I don't have enough room to do gives, so I'm going to do gives over here. Maybe G-I-V-E-S. So I'm actually going to scoot it over because I'm only going to be able to fit one word here. So I'm gonna probably start it right here. I'm gonna do that a little E. So music gives color to, and I'm just writing these out. You see, I'm not trying to like be fancy about it. I'm just being me. You know, this is about creating art, being you. I'm gonna scoot this T all the way over here because I think that'll look fun. I'm gonna do another little E here because I think that looks fun. And I'm gonna do a little A here. And maybe a little I. Because I kind of want the air to stand out. And so by contrast, because everything else is bold, the air will stand out. Sometimes it's not about being bold all the time. Perhaps if everybody's being bold, the contrast is different. The air of the, I'm going to put the V here. And then I'm going to create my last Alright, so now I've got a really nice kind of layout for this. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to start playing with some of my coloring in here. Now in talking about Paul Klee, he actually, like I said, he started out in music and then he went into art school. He graduated from there in about 1898. I'm going to use a waterproof pen right here. And so he was an experimental kind of artist, meaning that he worked on creating a lot of techniques that were unique to him. So there was, for instance, have you ever seen an artist where you look at them, or you not look at them, but you look at their art and you're like, oh, I know who that artist is. I recognize that piece. That's done by so-and-so because it looks like his style or her style. And so, in working with that, you know, he was one of those artists that created not just one signature style, but multiple. He was an experimenter. And so, you see, I have my pencil. See, I'm the kind of artist myself where I use my pencil in order to outline it. But it's kind of like when you write, for those of you that are writers, hey Hia, happy you're hanging out. I always do like these rough drafts. So for me, my pencil acts like my rough draft. And I like to do my final in pen. To me, there's something about not going over it again in pencil because I don't like to do it 3 times. So when I go over in pen, it gives me, I don't know, that sense of, ooh, I can refine it more, or I could mess up and make it worse, that I kind of like about it. And so I like Paul Klee too because with this, again, word art is something that's accessible to everyone. Everyone's handwriting, you know. There's handwriting experts out there, so they can read handwriting and tell a little bit about what state of mind a person is, and handwriting can be so personal that you can have people that analyze signatures to assess their validity, especially in the art world as well. When you have artists that sign works and then you're trying to kind of verify that for authenticity or for valuations. And so our signatures and how we write is very, very unique to us. So, I mean, the idea that lettering should not be a part of art, I personally think is silly. I think we shouldn't always use out-of-the-box lettering, meaning stencils, etc., but, I mean, how we write is very much part of who we are. I mean, I know as a child I was influenced by my mom's signature, looking at it going, wow, I like how she loops her L's. I'm just going to go through now and I'm going to get my lines drawn in. I'm doing a loose interpretation of Klee's work now. I did of, my pencil. But I like to go over these in pen, especially when I'm doing the contrast of the watercolor. The pencil will sometimes kind of go away and bleed a little, and I don't want that to happen. So I want to make sure these lines stay nice and bold, but I'm also kind of letting them have these little natural variations. I don't want this to come across extremely sharp and geometric. I do want it apparent that this had structure, but then that structure we used and kind of, allowed ourselves to be human. I like that part of the project. I think that's a really fun way to kind of do it. So I'm going to scoot this thing over here. Now I've got my little travel, since I'm kind of traveling, I've got my little travel watercolor set here. I'm going to scoot my bowl of water, and I've got a small little brush. Well, I'm going to use my big brush actually, because I probably should have done this before, but I'm going to go ahead and load up my cakes with water, because that's going to help them start to kind of pre-soak while I'm working on my colorations. And I also have a little bit kind of already mixed over here, so perhaps I'll use some of these colors since I've already got them mixed. And I'm going to use a combination of this one for when I'm doing my large squares, and then I'm going to use a smaller one. So a nice little square brush will work really well, because I'll have this edge to give me a nice straight line, but then I can turn it sideways if I need to in order to get in and get these sharp corners. So this is a really nice way to kind of play with it. Paul Klee, yes Bill, Paul Klee, a great quote, one eye sees, the other feels. Oh yes, we are definitely someplace fun. It's quite a nice time to get out in the country and be away from the city and all that jazz. Alright, so I'm going to go in, and I'm doing a real soft yellow. This may have not come across on the camera very well, but I'm going to play around. Maybe I'll hit it on here, that way I've got a darker yellow that kind of goes in. Okay, so I'm going to get my brush cleaned out. You see I've got some yellow around the U, and I just, even though the U didn't completely connect with the lines up there, it's close enough. And so I'm going to go in, and now I'm going to do like a nice little orange in here. And so it doesn't have to be perfect. I can have color variations in here, that's fine. I just want to go in and kind of get these little spots colored in. And so I'm just going in, I'm going to get a nice purple here. And so you see, maybe I'll just stick with this little small one. I actually really like this for these squares. I think that's fun. So I'm just going to stick with that. And look, I'm just going to go ahead and start bouncing around. I've got some great purple here. So So I kind of used it over here, but now I've got a nice little R spot here. And you notice I left all my pencil marks. Again, I'm using Paul Klee as a loose interpretation, but I want this to also have some really nice kind of different little things going on. So I want to make sure that, you know, I'm just playing around enough that I'm inspired, but I'm also, you know, making sure that I'm me as well. That's where some people have the disconnect. We go, oh, maybe we shouldn't, you know, work off of other artists' work, or, but it's important to, just like we get inspired by other writers, we get inspired the way other people teach others or lead others. I think I'm going to treat this side of the T different here. I like that. I think that's fun. See, I'm just, oh, you can't see because you can't see the rest of that. I'm kind of using up the color that I've already got in my palette. I'm just working with what I've got here. And so, I mean, why not? I'm going to go up here and get my red in. And you see this is nice and simple. And again, you can use these to say, you're someone who is a super neat freak with your artwork and you can't seem to like go forward because you start really focusing on one area that you think you can't get quite right. So maybe this is a project that you need to stop focusing and worrying so much and just jump and do things fast without thinking. Maybe that's a skill you need to practice. Or maybe you're the kind of artist that, you know, you actually do things too loosely, and so maybe you need this to be exactly precise with straight lines. So again, play with this lesson, play with the coloring. Oh, I don't want to do that. Play with the coloring in ways that's playing for you and is also a bit of experimentation. So remember, these are intended to be classes. There's plenty of lessons out there that show you how to make finished pieces. But these are meant to help you learn that creativity and learn what kind of artist you are. Everybody's brain is wired differently. That's a good thing. So I'm going to let this color undulate a little bit, meaning I'm not going to make it evenly spread around. I'm going to kind of play with that. I think that looks neat, especially with the blue. It kind of is reminiscent to me of the sky a bit, so I think I want to leave these little sky little spots on purpose. So I think I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just dipping my brush in water in between. Got my water over here. This is just watercolor, it's not permanent. I'm not getting it on my table. And so look, you see how I'm playing around with this. And I'm pulling a different kind of blue in. So you see me just kind of trying to pick things randomly. This again is very important. This is a great practice of composition and playing with our contrast of our colors. So we want to make sure this feels balanced, meaning maybe I don't want to have all my colors super heavy in one area. Or maybe you want to play with the contrast in a different way, and you want it to have this beautiful kind of set gradation from one end to the other, like a spectrum. So maybe you want to play with the coloring in this in a different way from the way that I'm playing with it, and that's certainly all right. Again, these projects are meant to be played with. That's what art is about. Exploring the self. Get some nice earthy colors in. This is starting to turn out fun already. Again, I'm just kind of playing around with different ways and different techniques, different styles. It's important to explore different artists and different styles. It's really, there's a reason why the old masters classes were always, part of them were practicing and trying to replicate masters' paintings. Why? Because you study how their final result looks and you're trying to replicate it. Just like, you know, for instance, my daughter's in high school and she's in culinary class. And so bakers work backwards sometimes. You know, you see those TV, those cooking shows where, you know, you taste something or the contestants taste something and they have to work backwards and recreate the recipe. Well, it's much like that for artists as well, just like it is for, you know, chefs. Hee Haw says, gives a 50s jazz album cover vibe. Yeah, it is. Hee Haw, it's kind of, this is like a lo-fi, kind of Japanese lo-fi, jazzy thing. I really like these because I can play them and not worry about too much of the words getting in the way. Alright, I'm going to knock you guys down so you can see. There we go. You see how this is starting to come to life? Like sometimes it looks really neat when you don't even give everything color. Sometimes having these really nice open spaces are really cool. You know what's another fun thing is you could also do this and then take an X-Acto knife and cut out some of these squares, and perhaps maybe I'll go back and do that depending on what's on the back side, and maybe we can play around with seeing through. So you could turn this into something that's got more depth, you know, something else behind, cut out squares, and now you've got something that's become more complicated. So there's a bunch of different ways that this can be played with. Ooh, I need to get all my orange out of there. Okay, there, that's better. Again, I'm working on letting this just be what it is. I'm working on my composition and where my colors are laid out. I want them nice and balanced. I'm kind of getting a lot of my clean squares done. Clean meaning they don't have a ton of verbiage in them, because I think they're a good core of the color. And I think that's important composition-wise for me to get some of the bigger goalposts in before I get that smaller stuff in. Sometimes I just need to dip my brush in the water a little bit. I'm trying not to stress out. You know, one of my things is I sometimes stress out about the little things. So these projects for me personally, I work on trying to maintain that bit of structure, but also let go and let that kind of flow happen a bit. And so again, I'm just kind of jumping around. I'm getting my little steps in. You see how I can kind of clean up my color if I want it cleaned up. I think I'm going to do the other side of this V. So there's a bit of continuity. There, I like that. Ooh, that's nice and bold. I like that. I'm going to stick with that. Now I need some more bold. I'm going to come over here. Get a nice bold right there. See, my colors will get richer too, because remember I soaked my cakes. And so some of these that have been soaking for a bit, they've gotten a lot more dense because more of that pigment has loosened up and kind of just become united with that flow agent, which in this case is the water. So remember our pigment, our watercolor cakes here, these are hardened pigment, so this is the hard pigment that's mixed in with the flow agent, which is the water. And so they're different for, you know, what the different mediums are. Acrylic, you've got different modifiers that become waterproof once they dry. Oh, that's a nice rich green. I like that. I'm going to come over here. Do that right here. I am going to try to make sure that I cover up almost all of my white paper though, because I don't really I might just do a blue. I think I'm gonna there. We might overshoot that on purpose just so it doesn't end up looking like an O. I'm gonna blend that out, I think. Oh, I like that better. Okay, cool. And we'll maybe do something to those corners, but I'll leave it for now. Remember, I'm working on this. We're playing around with getting our colors in. I'm going to get this little top above the T done. I'm going to get this edge done too. I'm just trying to kind of bounce around, make sure I've got a good equal treatment here because I want every spot of this to be interesting. You know, that's what we're looking for with our composition. We want all of the spots of our piece to come across as interesting. So you see as I'm building this, even though I'm not working left to right or top to bottom or corner to corner, right? I'm kind of bouncing around. But that kind of helps me fill things in. I look at it kind of like you remember playing with puzzles, if you don't normally play with puzzles, but even if you are a puzzle lover, this is kind of like filling in those puzzle pieces. And so you can decide at any point to stop. At any point when you're working on a piece, especially like this, you really get to decide, hey, do I want to leave these clean kind of breaths of air? Because I also think while music gives color to the air of the moment, it also, it's important the silences in between, you know. That's what kind of helps build the crescendo sometimes, is that stillness. Okay, I'm just kind of going in. I'm going to continue to work on colors. I can build more colors, meaning I can kind of mix some things together if I want. Like I'm going to take this yellow and this green. Ooh, I didn't mean to pop it in that. I didn't mean to pop it in the red, but that's alright. I'm going to get some more yellow here and mix this in. That way I can get a slightly different color. You know, I use these palettes because there's already a bunch of color on here, and it also helps me move a little bit quicker for you guys so that you're not just watching me mix color. But I want you to make sure that you're playing around and experimenting with color mixing on your own. It's important to have that skill. And it's important to practice it. So I'm just going through. And I think what's fun too when I bounce around is I know naturally as I paint, sometimes my tendency is to work neater in the beginning than near the end, especially in these projects, because I end up sometimes trying to rush and get them totally done at the end. And so it's kind of fun when I'm able to play with these in a certain way. It kind of lets me, I don't know, it just kind of lets me see where some areas get a little messier, some stay neat, and they're all kind of mixed around as well. You know, because just like, again, homage back to those experts at analyzing signatures, in that you can also tell whether someone writes things in a rush or not. You know, that funny joke of doctors have messy handwriting. True story, my mom always told me that I had a really messy signature and I was gonna either be an artist or a doctor. You can imagine her chagrin when doctor it was not. Oh, I'm just kidding. Oh, so I'm getting some more color in here, playing around, mixing some of my own so I get slightly different colors going on. But really I'm trying to work on embracing the less rigid side. You know, I tend to do a lot of wood blocks where my cuts have to be super sharp and clean and perfect. And so for me, it's been a nice kind of play of being able to loosen things up a bit. And paint things in a different manner. Oh, that's fun with the S. I like that. That gives me some nice balance there. With this kind of grayish, bluish, grayish tone. And see, I'm working a little messy, but that's alright. I'm going to get that down there too. And then, you know, it works for me sometimes to kind of look at the combination of not only the project right in front of me, but the camera. And so sometimes, you know, if you're not working on this in one setting, you can take a minute, certainly, and walk away from it. Sometimes taking a breath also means walking away from a piece so that you can clean your eye. Another callback to chefs. Remember we talked about how chefs will try a dish to get inspired by it and try to build the ingredients backwards. You know, chefs get inspired by other recipes. But we also got to take breaks. And so cleaning that palate, cleaning that tongue in between, especially when you go on shows that have tastings, you must clean the palate in between so you can get a fresh taste that's not marred by another residual taste left over in there. So the same thing can happen with our eyes. And so sometimes we have to refresh them. That's why things like getting away and taking a vacation and even staying at a friend's house or going to a new place and breaking away from the normal, that refreshment, that difference, that cleansing of the palate is important. That's also why I think it's important to take these moments to kind of create even when we may not feel like we're air quote artists. You know, sometimes irritates me, makes me, or not irritates me, but it makes me sad when sometimes there's this idea of exclusivity within the art world where, oh, they're not good enough to be an artist or a true artist. Everybody's an artist. Everybody can play basketball. Just the difference is, do you play basketball well or not? Yeah, but really the definition of well, if you're competing, is if you win. But if you're just playing to have fun, then the definition of playing basketball well, the end result of that is that you had fun. So then you achieved a goal, which means that you did something well. So maybe it's not always about doing things. We always sometimes feel like art, everything we do has to go somewhere. It has to be monetized. It has to be great enough that someone would buy it. And that's not what art is always about. Oh, I did two blues next to each other. Well, oops, I wasn't paying attention. I was chatterboxing away. That's alright. We'll just own it. Let it stay like that. That's kind of fun, I guess. That works. I'm going to get my bright blue over here. I'm not being too terribly careful anymore. I'm just kind of going in, playing with these. Getting these guys filled in. Ooh, that blue is super vibrant now because it's been, that cake has been really sitting in. So is this one. You see how my colors are getting darker and darker, which really was the goal here. We wanted those to get nice and rich, so that as I would go, same color, but it comes across and looks different just because of the amount of pigment that is present within it, that was not present in it before. So I'm just going in, I'm working on being looser with my paint. So I'm not trying I just want to kind of go around here So I'm not trying to really have this look super perfect. I think it gives it a sense of quirkiness. When we're able to play with it and not be perfect. Oh, that's looking wonderful. I think that this is fun. And so this is a great project too if you want to write out letters and work with lettering for kiddos, etc. This is a fantastic project in order to practice this with them on them. I mean, look how great and fun this turns out. This is a great project for the family. Say family names. This doesn't just have to be fine art. This can be something that records something for your family. Becomes a gift. Okay, so I'm getting all of this. Bill says, let me see what Bill says. I'm going to switch this screen over. Bill says this went from the awkward teenage phase to something really cool faster than I thought. You know, isn't that something? That's really fun, right? And so you can continue to build on these. Think too about watercolor techniques and things that we played with, like alcohol. How it spreads the color differently, salt, how when it dries it creates a cool starburst image. So think if you took the time and treated each square different on top of playing around with the color, and then wow, whammo, do you have something really fun? And again, you don't have to do this messy or looser in the way that I'm doing it, but I really wanted to kind of try to get myself out of that box. So again, I'm doing mine a little bit looser and quicker. Plus again, this helps serve the purpose for this class so I can get these projects done soon enough. For you guys as well. Ooh, I really have kind of ignored down here. It's feeling sad. So I'm going to go in and give a little bit more love over here. We don't have as much brown going on. So I'm just going to get this painted in. I'm going to get I'm going to get this painted in here too, and then I'm going to get this whole thing painted in, and I'm going to let that stay kind of messy. I like that. I'm going to clean up the center a little bit though. There, I like that. I don't know what happened there, but we're going to clean that up. Okay, I'm going to get some more of this kind of khaki color because I want to do this around the O. Oh, see how that's really turning out. Gosh, this is turning out fun. Alright, I am. We're almost done. I think. Yeah. I gotta get some more. I'm gonna get some red or orange over here. Get some bright orange over here. Oh yeah, I'm digging that orange. We'll just play with that right there. Get this taken care of. Oh, it'll fit over here too. You see how my bouncing around helped me balance everything. The bouncing technique may look a little crazy at first, but it really does kind of help in just getting all these colors laid out. And again, this is a great technique that Paul Klee inspired and developed. Again, just playing with who he was. You know, who you are is a beautiful thing. I'm getting some dark blue. We'll just do a color play where this F is. I think that that's fun. And then I'm going to go in and get a nice, another dark blue up here on this E. So I have some nice, ooh, I'll do it on this I too. That's a good way to kind of fill in those little sections. And now I've just got one little set here. We've got this N. I'm going to take care of this with that blue. Yeah, I'm going to get this guy down here. And now I've just got one more, and then I think we'll be done with this, everyone. I'm going to get a nice yellow for this. And then we're going to do a nice green here. Oh, that just turned out wonderful. And so once this dries, you can always, again, go in here. Like, I love this because what is really fun from far away is it turns, or it can turn into a really fun abstract. So you think about this on a much larger scale, but keeping the squares small. Now all of a sudden you've got something where you can build a much bigger thought with more words, something that reads as abstract from far away with all these tiny pieces. And I think this is a really fun way to kind of play around with, you know, I have these ideas of adult coloring books. Well, this is a way to kind of do something that's fun that really can become a really true, cool, modern piece of art in your home, but then also reflect who you are as a person and artist and all that jazz. Well, I'm really happy to have done this project with you guys today. This was super, super fun. I always enjoy these. I hope that you guys do as well. Tomorrow is Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday, so we're going to be doing a project that's suitable for the younger kiddos. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Always make sure that you're taking a look at the rest of our videos. We have archive videos. We've got a lot of different classes online already, with more to come as we hold these every day of the week except for Sundays. Weekdays they are at 3 p.m. and on Saturdays are our long-term projects, and those are at 4 p.m. So make sure you're going back, taking a look at the old stuff, and then also make sure that you're tuning in and taking part in our live sessions. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and chatting. I hope you enjoyed the project. I love how art is this bit of magic where, again, it goes through the awkward teenage process just like we do. And then all of a sudden you have this fun kind of piece that comes together as long as you continue to trust the process. And that's what really art is all about, is trusting the process. You guys have a wonderful week. We're about halfway through, so you're making it, and continue to find little joys every single day and create, and I will see you guys next time.